Welcome back to another edition of Pages Promotions Virtual Book Festival Autumn 2020, a production of Indie Reads TV. We find our home on CNM TV in Troy, Michigan. This is the last author interview we've got this month for this festival. We're going to wrap it up today, and then maybe we'll be back in the winter, maybe not. We'll wait, see how it goes. But you can always find us on YouTube if you want to watch the replays. Today, we're going to be talking with Luba Leschyen. Did I get that right? Please tell me I got that right.
Absolutely perfect.
Yay! I love it when I get it right. So today we're going to talk with Luba, and she's a wonderful author, and she's become a nice, happy friend to have in our circle of author peoples. And now we call you family, and you're stuck with us. And you're from Toronto, so we're really super to have you with us. First thing I want to ask, kind of a serious question, and then we can play and have fun and stuff, but you know, I got to do legit stuff first. So I was thinking about this morning as I was working on my math for the contests and stuff for this crazy festival we're doing, and I thought, you know, there's a lot of marketing going on with what all of us do as authors. So my question to you was, you live in a completely different country with a completely different reader base and consumer approach. So my question is, what do you do that you think might be unique or different that maybe we can borrow from a marketing standpoint? Here, we do a lot of in-person festivals and fairs and, you know, farmers markets and stuff. So I'm wondering how you reach readers in Toronto.
I don't think it's that much different, to tell you the truth. I have reached out, even with the first book, to libraries, and so have done my share of library readings. And I've been fortunate to book quite a number of library readings, virtual ones now as well. We have a large festival, book and magazine festival actually in Toronto, Word on the Street, which went virtual this year, but which didn't really work well for independent authors for a number of complicated reasons, which is how I actually found your festival, because I was looking for an alternative. And I'm so glad that you have started this up, because it really works for indie authors. But there are a few things that are probably specific to my first book, Theft by Chocolate. I know my books are looming behind me, but
they are. But I love this cover, so I'm happy for you to show it as often as you like.
Yeah, so I was able to, because of the theme of chocolate, I not only was approaching libraries, but I was going to places like cafes and sweet shops and those kinds of places, and was able to do readings in these wonderful places. I did one in a northern town in Ontario where it was called Mayans, Mystery Museums, Mayans and Martinis, or something like that. So,
okay.
And it, again, was in a sweet shop, a cafe. And, but other than that, it's the same old. You know, we're all trying to figure it out in terms of, you know, advertising on things like Amazon and Facebook and that sort of thing. And
right,
you know, and I did in Canada, we have Chapters Indigo, so I had done a reading there, but it's trickier this time around with the pandemic and so forth. So I don't think it's really that much different, to tell you the honest truth.
Okay, right. Yeah, I'm really glad that you found our festival, because now it means that we get to have you in our community. So I'm really excited about that. And I have something I'm going to send to you, and I'll send it to any of the other authors that are interested as well. And that is, I have a template for a wrap that you can print on your home printer, and it wraps around Hershey bars.
Oh, okay.
And you can put your book cover on that.
Oh, okay.
And then wrap it around Hershey bars. I've done this a couple of times, and then you could give out the chocolate bars as giveaways at festivals or whatever. So if anybody wants that, just get in touch with me through Facebook, and I'll be happy to send you the template. But it's super easy to use, and I've used it. 1 year for Halloween, I gave out a bunch of Hershey chocolates with my book cover on it. So
That sounds
When I
great.
saw your cover, I thought that might be a fun marketing thing for you.
And I have to tell you, if you have chocolate in your book title, it just puts you on another level at
Yeah.
Word on the Street in Toronto. You would see people walking by the different booths, and then all of a sudden you could see they zoned in on the word chocolate, and they would stop in their tracks and turn back. So I wasn't sure how the second book was going to go, because it's Theft Between the Rains, and it's not quite as exciting that way. But yeah, chocolate is a good draw.
Well, the chocolate title gets them to your table, and then they buy both.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So at this time, I'd like to invite everybody to turn on their microphones. And if you'd like to ask questions or expand on discussions we had previously with Luba, this is the time to do it. Who would like to go first?
Oh, Diana, I was just going to actually say, because I had promised to do a really, really short reading about chocolate. I know I did.
Yeah. I forgot. I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot we were going to do that. Go ahead and do that now, and then we'll take Kate's question.
It's really super short. This is from a scene near the beginning of Theft Between the Rains, where the protagonist, Kalina, is meeting up with Marco, a security guard at the museum in which they both work. She doesn't really know why he wants to meet with her. The agenda's not clear, but they decide to meet up at a restaurant that also happens to have an interesting storefront that has some very special treats.
Awesome. Go. Microphone is yours.
The establishment's boutique served as a retail antechamber to the dining area, and it would take every single molecule of self-control to bypass the exquisite jewelry case-like displays that were making all of my senses dance. Rather than gems, however, the delicate glass cabinets were appointed with rows of truffle delicacies infused with Bombay chai and Tahitian vanilla, Seville orange, and sweet curry. The chocolatey delights sported deliciously creative names like Tie Me Up, Curry in a Hurry, Hot Mess, and Belle du Jour. From there, my eyes wandered to wall displays strategically populated with pastel-hued macarons flavored with lavender and cassis, figs and red wine, passion fruit and pistachios. The white floors and walls formed a perfect backdrop, highlighting the vibrant wares. I dug in my heels and cantered forward like a horse with blinders on.
That's great.
So
Yay! Thank you. Kate, you had a question. Go.
Well, now I have two questions. So first, do you have a disclaimer in your book that it is not your fault if the reader gains like 10 pounds over the course of reading it? Because now I'm really, really hungry.
I know I should have, but at the very least, I should say read at your own risk or something like that.
Something, because that sounded just absolutely amazing. My other question was just going to be, now it feels kind of like not as good as my first one, but how do you bust writer's block? And I asked because I was writing earlier and I was doing one of these, staring at the screen like, so what do you do when you're feeling that way?
I kind of have a very different concept of writer's block. I don't really think a thing exists for me personally. Not that I am a prolific writer or I'm writing all the time. It's actually probably the opposite. But I really try to take the pressure off of me because I have this unexplained belief that a story will be told when it needs to be told. I mentioned in my readings that there was quite a lot of time between my two books. And I was really hard on myself for the longest time about that. And then after I wrote it, I just realized that there were so many things that I brought into that book that I would not have been able to do so had I not lived certain things in that span of time and progressed as a writer and matured. So yeah, I don't do anything specific. I do things to try to keep myself chilled and align myself with the universe, if anyone sort of buys into that kind of thing. And that's just doing yoga, meditating. In different times, I love to travel, and I've worked in really busy jobs most of my life. So it was often hard finding those spaces of time. So those are the types of things that I do to just try to ground me and open up myself to creativity and the universe, inspirations from the universe.
Yeah,
or
just
as
like
Oprah Winfrey
being
would say,
open to it.
whispers from the universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I very much believe that I have a muse. I don't know where she is right now, but being open to the universe whispering in your ear, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that would resonate actually with a lot of authors.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I just have dealt with so many deadlines in my life from a work perspective, and adding those kind of harsh deadlines for myself from a creative perspective just was not working or resonating with me. And I really admire people who are able to write every single day, have a set number of words that they would like to write, but it just didn't seem to work for me. So I do it what feels natural to me, I guess.
Absolutely.
I just want to say to all of you that everybody that's been on this festival has been a muse to me. So thank you all. It's been a lot of fun.
Wait a second. Amuse or amusing?
Oh, that too, but hey, that's only because I'm an arrogant jerk. But
No, we appreciate you, Andrew. We really appreciate you. And have you put that other piece up today?
no, I left it. I took it down.
The one that you. Okay. So any of you who were at our after party last night, stay tuned. There's something new coming from Andrew later, but I'm not going to spoil it for him. So who else has questions for Luba? Okay, let me ask you this. I can't remember, because we've done 63 of these. I can't remember if we asked you this already or not, but the cover for Theft by Chocolate, how did that come into existence? I just think that it's a really inventive approach. I wouldn't have thought of it, and I'm wondering how you came up with the idea.
I did have a publisher for my first book, Attica Books, who were based out of the UK. They were a digital publisher, and they actually, honestly, they gave me like 20 different options for book covers, and they kept, and it seemed like I would open up my email and there'd be like another set of possible options. I don't know how much they were paying to a graphic designer, but I think they did really well. And it was just a no-brainer, you know. That immediately drew me. It just seemed to speak to the Mayans, because the Treasures of the Maya, a museum blockbuster exhibition, is a main setting for the book. And also I'm a personal, well, this is kind of an odd time to say this, but I'm a personal lover of masks, but not the kind of mask we're wearing these days, but you know, the kind
it's Halloween. That's not an odd time to say it
No.
at all.
like, you know, carnival masks that from Venice and those kinds of things. So that whole concept really appealed to me.
That's very cool. Yeah, I love the cover. When it came in the mail, I was just really struck by it. If I were walking by your table at a festival, I'd stop and buy your book just for the cover.
Yeah, it's good fun for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Does anyone else have questions for Luba?
I just have one kind of silly one.
Go ahead, Julia.
I have to have dead silence around me when I'm writing. I can listen to music when I'm editing, but not when I'm revising. Weird kind of controlling situations. I was wondering what you did. Do you have silence? Do you write in silence, or do you put mood music on?
I do a combination of things, and it's going to be really embarrassing to admit to one of these. And because I have been a television watcher since I was very young, I studied all through school in front of a television, wrote exams all through university, and I did okay. And to me, it's kind of a white noise. So I actually can write with the television on. I actually find putting music on for some reason is more distracting, and I can't explain that, maybe because I want to tune into it more, while with the television, again, maybe it's something that goes to my childhood. It is more like a white noise to me, but I do spend a lot of time writing just in silence.
I think I understand, because for me, television is back there and I really don't care about it.
Exactly.
I don't put it on, but that's because I get too irritated by it. Uh, and then it shows up in my writing. My characters are irritated, but music, I am a kind of a half bad word musician. Um, I play electric bass and love it, but
Very cool.
I get carried away with music. So it really impacts what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. And that would show up in the characters. So I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. It's the same with me with podcasts as well. I started listening to podcasts at work just this year. I early retired at the end of June, but probably the last.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Very exciting. But I I would always want to, just kind of stop and actually, listen to them. And for me, the same with music. I would just sort of want to take it all in. But yeah, with television, it's a white noise. I've lived on my own for a long time. So just having the voices in the background for some reason is soothing, and I can block it out, but at the same time have this sort of comforting sound happening.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with conversations like on television, or even I can sit in Panera amidst a whole bunch of people and write with no problem. And I like listening to classical music. But when I started listening to music with lyrics, because I type at 120 a minute, I noticed the lyrics started appearing on the page.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I used to be a transcriptionist. So when I was hearing the words, they were showing up as dialogue on the page. And so I had to stop doing that.
That's funny.
There's a little plagiarism issue there,
Funny.
Any other questions for Luba? Go ahead, Kate.
Do you have any, I just loved hearing how you were talking about, what can you listen to? Do you have any other rituals when it comes to writing? Do you have to sit down with like a mug of tea or hot chocolate, or do you have to be in a certain mind frame? Do you have like a pre-sitting down to write ritual?
I would say no, because I had to be diversified in order to get some writing done. And I would write sometimes on my lunch at work. Sometimes I'd be writing at home. Sometimes I'd be creating on public transit. So nothing specific. I'm not a big tea drinker, not a coffee drinker, that sort of thing. So no, I'm really boring that way. Sorry.
No, that's awesome, because that means you're good to go. We can give you a phone and you can just write on that, if nothing else.
That's great. Any other questions for Luba? Okay, what's the next project? I think we spoke briefly about this in your last interview, but what's the next project coming up?
Yeah, I came to writing actually from screenwriting and from a love of film, actually. So I was blogging originally about my experiences at the Toronto International Film Festival for decades. And and then I decided to take some screenwriting classes, and I completed one full screenplay. I actually did a first act for Theft by Chocolate, but didn't get beyond that. But I really, really like this particular screenplay, the story. It's a paranormal kind of love story. And I've been wanting to adapt it to a book for a long time, because screenplays are very impressionistic. You're just putting just almost kind of notions on the page. And there just were so many things that I wanted to fill out about characters, about settings, and also in terms of the paranormal aspect. I have worked for a long time with energy healers, and I've learned a lot over the years. And so I want to pull some of that information into the story, and maybe some of these things will resonate with people in terms of soul journeys and those kinds of things. So it's kind of about people who are meeting in more than one lifetime.
That's very cool. When can we expect that to be done?
I haven't even started it. I'm one of those, again, not putting any pressure on myself. I can't seem to market my books and write at the same time. So I've been focusing a little bit for now just on getting some reading gigs and that sort of thing. But that's going to sort of be coming to an organic close pretty soon, I think. So I'm hoping that just depending on how much I dig my heels in, like maybe in a year, year and a half.
Awesome. We'll definitely look for it. Make sure you update us when it's ready.
Absolutely.
So is there any genre that you can't imagine yourself writing?
Oh, don't hate me, everyone. I I couldn't see myself ever writing horror. It's just not in me. Although
You're too gentle a soul for that,
I
right?
honestly, I am. I'm one of
Yeah.
these energy sensitive people. I love a good horror story that's very suspenseful, but I cannot take sort of blood and guts and gore and that sort of thing. So that would be difficult for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And as interesting as fantasy is, I just don't think I have that world building kind of thing in my brain. I so admire people who have that, but I'd have to morph into someone else in order to be able to do that, I think.
World building is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have questions for Luba?
I'm just sad that you won't write horror with the rest of it.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, Luba. I'm not there yet either. It's okay.
I don't write horror. I just write about horrible things people do. There's a difference.
That's borderline. You're right there.
It is.
Exactly.
Maybe.
So I like the question that I had yesterday, and I'm curious about it from you. How many things do you have open right now? I mean, if you looked at all of the different projects that you have, are you a singular where you're working on one project at a time, or do you have a number of little pebbles that you're pushing forward?
I have been singular up until this point with my 2 books, but besides the book that I've already talked about, I have another one in mind as well that's a little bit of a genre blender in terms of memoir and fiction. And I think that one might be a little bit challenging to write in terms of it possibly being a bit cathartic. So I'm thinking of writing both of them sort of concurrently. We'll see how that works, but I think it might be easier on my soul to do it that way.
So you have to be singularly focused on a project rather than moving from one to the other. So does that mean you're a pantser or a plotter?
I've done both. So with the first one, I definitely was a plotter. I had done a writing workshop at the Humber School for Writers that was a week long, and that then led me to a course on how to write a novel where I had to, write backstories for characters and chapter outlines for every single chapter in the book. And I found for the first book that was really, really helpful because I had really been floundering up until that point. And so that really gave me the structure I needed. And then I found with the second one, it was a pantser. And that was, with the first book, I had left a job and was only working part-time from home. So I was able to concentrate a lot on the writing and the writing program that I was in. With the second one, I was constantly being interrupted. And so it might have helped me to have done all that plotting that I had done the first time around. But again, I sort of feel like that there were inspirations that might not have come up if I had been a little bit more plotting in that one. But I see value in both. And sometimes I think it has to do with whether the story is all in your head yet or not.
Yeah. I admire your ability to do both because I have tried to sit down and pants my way through a story, and it gets so frustrating because the question that constantly comes up for me is what happens next. And if I say, I don't know, then what am I doing? So I really admire people who can do both. And it's kind of like splitting your brain in half and being able to do both. So
Yep, for sure.
I think that's a wonderful trait, and I wish I had it. I'm not that good. Anyone else have questions for Luba?
I just have a quick comment. I really admire how, just from hearing you speak, just even in the past 20, 30 minutes, just how balanced you are as an author. It seems like you have this wonderful, healthy, open, balanced approach to your writing. And when it comes, it comes. And I think that that's really admirable, especially for those of us that sometimes like me, where we're just putting that pressure on ourselves, and it's garbage in, garbage out. You know, if I'm forcing myself to write something, I'm going to end up having to delete it all later anyway. So I really admire just your genuine sense of balance that you have with that.
Oh, thank you. It did come with a lot of work, I have to say, because I have been so hard on myself in life in general. And so again, just sort of realizing that, you know, we all put so much pressure on ourselves in so many different ways, even with things like, you may have noticed that my author photograph is just, you know, part of my face, and the same for my first book. And I just, you know, there's so much pressure in our culture on what we look like. And I just thought, you know what, I don't want to, I know I have to provide something, but I don't want to play into that too much. So that's why I have that sort of, you know.
I love that picture. I think it's really cool.
I think it's great.
I do have a question for Luba, and actually for anyone who wants to answer this, because I've gotten over the fear. Thank you, Andrew. I've kind of gotten to the place where I go, well, so what? If you don't like it, I don't care.
Yeah.
But when you put that first book out there, and I remember taking my one little book to a table at a show and saying, I'm an author. And I was terrified to put myself out there on the table. You know,
Absolutely. And I still suffer from imposter syndrome for sure. And sometimes I feel like I shouldn't be calling myself a writer and calling myself a storyteller because I'm not writing literary works and, you know, with this beautiful flowery language. So yeah, I found that challenging, and with the first book having to go on social media because I had basically not been doing anything at that time, and having to go to readings. And with the second book, there are things that I talk about from my actual life that were really, you know, even though it's for the most part a light art theft story, there were things that I talked about that were, you know, that were hard to put on the page. And you know, you make yourself vulnerable. All of you do when you're putting your words on the page, and even if it's not directly related to your personal life, there's something from your soul that you're putting out there. So it's hard, and you do have to almost grow a really thick skin, because otherwise, you know, it's just going to be hard to be successful if you're constantly feeling like, you know, you can't take any kind of criticism. I remember
absolutely, or success.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. You know, that fear of success, I think, is just as real. You know, I was the general manager and partner in ownership of a bookstore for 18 months. And I think I sold 2 copies of my own books, but I sold everybody else's because it was so much easier than standing up and saying, hey, I already, you know, I wrote 6 books too, check these out. It was so much easier to sell Andrew and to sell Kate than it was to sell me, you know. It's so much easier. So I definitely get that imposter thing. That's why I like sharing tables at festivals, because then I don't have to be nearly as vulnerable because I can sell the other person.
You know what? When you mentioned that before, I thought, oh my God, I do the exact same thing. And I always used to feel guilty too, because people would just buy my book because it had the word chocolate in it. And one year I was beside this University of Toronto professor who had written these amazing detective stories. And nobody was buying his books, and I'm going like, oh my God, his books are so much better than mine. What are you doing? You know, so yeah.
Yeah, but that's not
I
really,
think we all run into that.
That's not really for us to say. I mean, yeah, he was a professor, and his books could have been better, but they may not have been. I mean, there's a certain amount of inspiration. The people that are involved here, the people that I've met, they're inspired and they're passionate, and that passion shows in their books. And when you look at the people that we think should be really great and are making money, sometimes their books are boring, or they're using constant words to try to baffle the reader, and there's something to be said for that true authenticity. And as far as classics go, Death by Chocolate could be the next Canadian classic 10 years from now.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome, but I'm not so sure that's going to happen.
Mine will probably be classics well after I'm dead, but that happens to a lot.
Yeah.
You just have to enjoy and have the passion for writing, and put yourself out there, and be willing to say, hey, you may not like my book, but I enjoyed writing it. I've got a lot of people that love to read it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So what we have to do now for 2021 is build a larger outreach program for Canada so that we can make sure more Canadian readers hear about Luba. That's what we have to do.
sounds like a good plan.
We've
I think
got,
that would get us legally into Canada too, because we'd be going on business. So legally, we can come over to Canada.
yes, absolutely. I think it's planned. I think we should formulate this and
Road trip.
do it. Yeah, yes, absolutely. So we've got like 3 minutes left. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Luba at this point? Dave, are you still with us?
You there?
No,
Taking
I
a
was
nap.
just going to say, we haven't talked about this a lot in our author interviews, I don't think, in terms of reviews and when we talked about putting ourselves out there. But I remember the first sort of really critical review that I got that had just, I shouldn't say critical. There was nothing of value in the review. I thought that would help me progress as a writer, and I found that really challenging. I totally get if someone doesn't like my book or the genre or whatever, but when someone is just kind of putting words out there to make themselves in some way look like they're smarter and wittier, it really gutted me at the time, and obviously still stays with me because I can't stop talking about it. But no, yeah. So I really hope that most people who write reviews just really think about the types of things that they're saying, and that they are something that the author can take to heart and make them in some way better at their craft, instead of just saying, this was not good at all, and not really explain why.
Right. Well, I think we have to raise authors the way we raise children, and that is, for every no, there's an explanation. Right. So if you don't like something we write, let us know why, because that's how we can improve and get better at what we're doing. And then we'll run into the wall less frequently. We'll produce better books if you give us an idea of how to do that.
Yeah.
So any other questions? We've got like a minute and a half. Anything else out there for Luba at this time?
Just a note, I think it's funny that my worst review ever was by somebody who didn't read the book. So I always thought that's funny. And when somebody gives you a bad review, you have to wonder, what were they looking for? Were they just looking to write a bad review? And obviously, I would say, based on my experience with your book so far, Luba, that they obviously didn't read the book.
Oh.
I want to know how they could review your book if they hadn't read it.
There are lots of people that do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Am I just ignorant, or live under a rock? People review
No.
it.
Oh yeah, people review all kinds of things, especially on Amazon, because they see it as an open forum, and they just want to throw their opinion out rather than having anything of substance to say.
I pay more attention to Goodreads reviews for that exact reason. At least on Goodreads, I'm not saying it's toxic free on Goodreads, but they're there because they're readers, as opposed to Amazon, where it could just be any troll from the swamp.
Yeah.
On
I
your
agree.
reviews.
Right. Yeah, I always point people to review on Goodreads for that reason. It's more of literary community rather than a consumerism community.
Perfectly put.
Maybe I'll have to try that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please do. You
I
can
usually
you can
just
take
contact you individually.
Come
reviews
over and
on
be friends with
Goodreads
us on
are
Goodreads.
Yeah, be friends with us on
Yes.
Goodreads. Goodreads is a great
Yes.
community, and you can learn a whole bunch of like new authors and join groups and learn about new books, and it's just fun. Join us
And
there.
So
stalk your
I need
friends.
another shelf.
Totally stalk your friends. We need to all like just
do
pull
need another
together
shelf.
and buy you another bookshelf. But
Yes.
it's fun because you get to see like, oh, Diana started reading this, or Luba gave this book this review, and as opposed to Amazon, where again it can be kind of just a toxic environment where people pay off their friends to come give you a bunch of reviews. Goodreads definitely is a lot more of a community than like this, like just everybody going in for blood and trying to get all those 5-star reviews.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll try it.
Yeah, we would greatly appreciate that.
And friend us so that we can stalk you.
Okay.
Yes, allow us to stalk you in reverse. That would be great.
See
Who
what I'm
knows
reading.
Who knows if we learn what you like to read, maybe one of us will write something that you like to read on purpose.
You already do.
Even better. We gotta stop for now, everybody. Thank you so much for your time, Luba. I really appreciate you joining us and becoming part of our community. I think we have a lot more fun in the months ahead coming toward us because of your involvement with our group. So I do appreciate you.
It was so much fun, and my retirement could not have come at a better time. And for those few sessions that I had to miss because of other commitments, I'm sorry, but I have watched the replays on YouTube.
That's why I put them there.
Yep, and it has just been an absolute pleasure and delight meeting you all and talking with you all and learning about your writing and your craft.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So once again, this is Luba Leschyen. See, it's funny. I can't look at the name when I pronounce it. I have to look off in the other direction. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you being here. I will post another link to your work on our Facebook page so everybody can find it. And of course, the replay for this session will be up on YouTube tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I had a great month. I don't know about you guys, but I had a blast this month with the Page Motions Virtual Book Festival Autumn 2020. We are a production of Indie Reads TV. We find our home on CNM TV in Troy, Michigan. I had so much fun. I'm so glad everybody came, whether you came in person or you came because of a replay or you interacted with us on Facebook or all of the above. I'm so grateful. And I know all of the authors in our festival are grateful for your attention as well. Thanks again, Luba, for coming. Have a great night.
Thank you, and thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.